Hi everyone, Christy Oji here. Just want to come on and talk to you today about the subject of gender, as you might expect. But I want to give you a bit of a tip that you might not know about, and that is, I bet you didn't know that communication is a gender subject. That's right. That's why we talk about conceiving, to be about to have an idea, or concepts as those ideas that are shared, which is exactly the same language we use for making and having children. Now, this is not accidental language. Communication is indeed one of the higher correspondences of gender. When I say higher, I mean the lower being the fact that I'm a man and others are women, and most people's understandings of gender only extend to sex and sexuality, because it's become a very taboo subject around the subject of sex and sexuality, or if not taboo, very, very grey, where the specificities of each gender has become grey in recent decades as a result of it being a taboo subject. So because of this grey area of communication around the subject of sex and sexuality, it means that we don't get a clear understanding and insight into these higher correspondences of gender. And the level of communication is the one I want to talk to you about today. So in totic gender, it's very, very simple, where we're all whole beings. Nobody is born with anything missing, unless you're biologically missing a physical part. But in general, everybody has all the energetic components of a whole human being. We all have masculinity and femininity. We all have feelings. We all have a body. We all have thoughts, etc., etc. These seem to make up the core human unit. Now, the interesting thing about men and women is that all mammal fetuses are female first. So it's only about day 42 or 49, I think, that testosterone will make the gender energy in what will become the male point out, whereas it is internalized in the female human. Now, this simple language of pointing out is our doorway into understanding how gender works at a communication level. And it's not tied, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman when we're talking about communication now, because we can all use the masculine and feminine polarity of communication. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, whoever is making the point at any given time is in the male role. So whoever is pointing something out for everybody else, just like a man with a big hard-on pointing out so that everybody can see, this is what's happening when somebody is sharing their concept or trying to get others to conceive of a new idea when you're sharing a new idea with them. And this is a pure gender subject. There's nothing, there's no other qualities that you need to understand to be an effective communicator. If you understand sex and gender, you can be the finest communicator going, regardless of your vocabulary. Now, what you'll find is that there's very little communication taking place these days because people have misfiring gender, spasming gender. They don't understand the difference between the masculine and feminine poles within, and they don't know how to flip between them as and when appropriate. So, for example, when somebody is making a point, how many of you are open and receptive to those penetrations so that you may indeed be able to receive the point and conceive what is being indicated? Or how many of you are sitting there with your own cogs going, just waiting to make your own point? If you are indeed just waiting to make your own point and you're actually unable to be open to that party, if that is the case, then we've got we don't have communication. What we have is presentation, which is the same as flashing, masturbation, rape. You can use any of these terms when somebody is forcing a point down somebody else's throat without making sure that they're aroused, interested, aligned, still with you. All these qualities are essential if you want actual communication to take place. So that's something to watch out for in your communication, is look for who's making the point, watch yourself to see whether you're just in your own point making mode, which means you're in your male mode, and try to flip into your feminine so you can be really present to hear what another person has to share. And you never know where that might take you. Now, obviously there are situations where your time is valuable, you might already be aware of somebody's point, yada, yada, yada. There's all sorts of variables involved as to determine whether it is appropriate for you to jump in with your own points. But I'm just making the point today that this is in fact a gender subject, and watch out for it, because I see very little communication taking place these days. I see lots of people waiting to make their points. I see a lot of mental masturbation, which is effectively what that is. Whereas really, you've got to look at what you engage in to engage in the sexual act to understand how to be a really good communicator. Now, I just wanted to give you a tidbit taster on that today. If you go out now, you should be able to be more effective just by watching for who's making the points, and so that you can know whether it's appropriate to be open and receptive or to go and seek arousal to make your own points more effectively. Now, if any of you are interested in finding out more about this, please do get in touch with me. This is one of my core subject areas of both interest and excitement. I'm deeply passionate about it. I have a couple of weekends coming up that some of you might be interested in. This weekend coming, that is of the 16th, 17th, 18th September 2016, there is a weekend for men and women in the woods in Herefordshire. Sorry, not Herefordshire, Hertfordshire, so just north of London, just outside London. It's a camping weekend, and because it's camping, I've managed to keep the costs down. It's £150. It's open for men and women. We'll be looking at the myth of patriarchy. We'll deeply be going into all this language of communication so that you can be more effective in your partnerships. I mean, just think how your relationship might be transformed by both of you sharing the same language, or sharing the same understanding of, or the same framework of conflict resolution, rather than one of you nipping off to get armed in something and then trying to get the other to catch up. Why don't both of you come along, get armed in the subjects of not just communication, but also the giving and taking of space for tense subjects and conflict resolution, etc. There's going to be so much going on there. If anyone's interested, please look up The Way of I, or The Way of the I, either on Facebook or on my page. And otherwise, next weekend, that's the 24th, 25th of September, I'll be doing Empowering the Night Within with John Cooper, where we'll be covering this communication subject, along with loads of other stuff about awakening and bolstering the inner masculine. Thanks so much for your time today. I hope there was something of use for you.